Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. Today we're going to be working on a DIY rustic Halloween pumpkin. We're going to focus on using product from Reneabouquets.com. So let's get started. For this project, I've got this pumpkin. I think I got it at like Goodwill. It's already pre-painted because I was going to use it on another project. So, you don't need to pre-paint it. It's just pre-painted because, like I said, I'm going to use it on another project. I had spray painted it in a matte white, but you can totally skip that part. And what I'm doing here is I don't need the stem, so I'm just using a craft knife here, just kind of slowly going around, being very careful because, of course, as you all know, I am doing this left-handed, and just making enough cut to kind of push this back and forth and take that stem off of the top. Now I'm going to be working with Beacon Fabri-Tac glue for this part, and what I've done is I have ripped some fabric. I purchased this fabric at Walmart and I have ripped it into 1-inch strips, and the length, I'm not going to give you exact measurements because your pumpkin might be smaller, your pumpkin might be bigger, but the length, all I did was made sure that it fit from the top center of the pumpkin around to the underneath bottom center of the pumpkin. That's it. And then of course 1 inch wide, adding a little Fabri-Tac glue on both sides of the strip, and I'm going to lay it of course at the top near the center, and then I'm going to stretch it all the way down to the bottom in the center, and I end up using 25 strips for my pumpkin. And I think my pumpkin is probably about 8-inch width pumpkin, something like that. And I'm making sure that as I put the strips on, I am pulling them really tight so that you really see the anatomy of the sections of the pumpkin. And as I lay these strips on, I'm going to just overlap them slightly, again pulling really tight, and then down to the bottom of the pumpkin. I'll do just 1 or 2 more strips here, I think. I'll finish the rest off camera. But I'll of course show you here what it looks like in just a minute, all finished up. But nice and easy, quick. And if you don't want to rip the fabric, you can totally just cut them, but 1 inch width. Here's what it looks like all the way around. I like that rip look because it does give it a nice rustic texture. Now I want to cover the bottom, and I just used the end of a spool and I traced it onto my fabric, cut it out, and then I just kind of, with my fingers, just kind of pulled on the ends to distress it a little bit so it looked like the strips. And then we're going to go ahead and just add it to the bottom of the pumpkin here so it finishes it off all nice and neat. Now we're going to start making the cute little witch's hat for the top of our pumpkin. What I've got here is some felt. I got this at Walmart, ran around $7 or so, and I just free-handed everything. So for my brim, I made it about 7.5 inches wide. I used one of those compasses. You could trace like a plate or something like that. You're going to cut 2, and then I drew a circle on the inner portion. It's 2.5 inches wide, and I'll let you know in a minute how I got to that measurement. And then I just free-handed my witch's hat, and I wanted it a nice, slender, tall witch's hat. So I started about 4.5 inches in width, and then it goes up to about 9 3/4 inches tall. Now I'm not giving you a free printable on this because depending on your size of your pumpkin, you may want to make it a little bit wider or that kind of thing. But how I started is I just took a ruler and 4.5 inches wide, made a couple of marks, and you can see I just kind of drew wavy line all the way up, kind of came down in a little curve, and then kind of a wavy line all the way down, ending and beginning at each of my marks. Now of course I didn't like how this part looked, so I could easily erase it. I could go in and just kind of fix it. And if you don't trust yourself to draw this, there's lots of cute little witch hat patterns that are free on Google or something like that. So this is what it looks like. You're going to cut 2 of those of course out of the fabric. Here's my hat cut with my inner circle cut, 2.5 inch width inner circle. And how I got to that, I pinned off my hat here. I want to show you. This kind of simulates where you would glue, about 1/8 inch in, and then I stretched it out to form a little circle, and then took my ruler and I measured that circle, and it's about 2.5 inches. And so that's how I knew how big of an inner circle I needed to cut out on my hat. Okay? So you can use hot glue here. You can use Beacon Fabri-Tac glue here. Either one is perfectly fine if you're not a sewer. Or of course, y'all know me, I like to go and take it to my sewing machine. So I'm going to sew a little bit on the hat here. You're going to sew all the way around both sides of the hat, you know, all the way around the design, but you're going to leave that bottom portion, that 4.5-inch width, open. Do not sew your hat closed. Okay? And then if you're hot gluer or again Beacon Fabri-Tac glue, you can sew around the outer perimeter of the brim of your hat. Don't sew the inner or glue your inner circle yet, or don't sew your inner circle yet, of course. So we're just going to take a minute here as we sew along the brim of the hat. I'm just going nice and slow here. I'm kind of leaving this in so that you can you know, see how it's done. I wanted to show as much of this part as possible. It's really easy to put together. Okay, we'll move on to everything sewn. I turned my hat so it's right side out. You can see how nice and slender it is. And you can make your hat wider if you want, you know, the width of it. I just wanted a cute, tall, slender hat. And then, of course, take your brim of your hat, and once you've sewn or glued it together, go ahead and turn the right side out. I'm just kind of stretching it out, making it look nice here. And eventually what we're going to do is the top of our hat is going to fit in that inner circle of the brim of our hat just like this. Okay, and you're going to take the edge of that inner circle of your hat and you're going to line it up with the edge of the tall part of your hat, if that's understandable. If you're using Beacon Fabri-Tac or hot glue, you can go ahead and glue that inner circle closed. If you're and then of course you're going to attach it and glue right around edge to edge, brim and hat. You're going to glue that all the way around. So in the end it's going to kind of look like this when we're all done. Okay, now if you're a sewer, I'm going to go ahead and pin here the edge of that inner circle of the brim to the edge of the hat. Get that all pinned. Now when I pin it, the inner circle of my brim is actually a little bit bigger, so I kind of pinned it. It's going to gather a little bit. I don't mind that at all. So I think it just adds to the rustic to it. And I can't take this part to the sewing machine because it's too small to fit on my machine, so I'm going to have to sew it by hand. If you are a hot gluer and a sewer and you wanted to sew this by hand, it's really easy. Just a nice long piece of thread, knot it, and you're going to start on the inside of the hat there. Bring it to, so kind of like right here, inside of the hat to the outside here. Pull it through, and then you're going to go about, you know, 1/4 inch. Go from the outside to the inside and pull it through, and you're going to repeat that process all the way around till you come back to where you started. And when you're hot gluing or sewing, and you know, if your hole's a little bit big, just kind of gather it as you're hot gluing, not sewing. If you're hot gluing, you're using Beacon Fabri-Tac glue, and if your circle's a little bit big, just kind of gather it as you're gluing it so that, you know, it adds a little gather in there like I discussed earlier. When I pinned it, it has a little bit of a gather, but I think that just kind of adds to the rusticness of it all, so doesn't bother me any. If you want it to kind of fit a little better, you might maybe want to go down about 1/4 inch in diameter of that inner circle. So here's what it looks like. We're going to start stuffing it. We're going to just stuff part way. We're going to stuff kind of down into the point of that hat. I got like this little chopstick here to help me get down into the point of that hat. Stuff it kind of about 1/4 of the way. And then I'm going to add some wrinkles in the hat. So you can skip this next part if you want when we get to it. So there it is, kind of stuffed part way. I've got some crochet thread here and a doll needle. I've got it pretty long and I've got one end knotted. And what you're going to do is kind of start at the bottom of your hat, either side, and you're going to add just a tiny little stitch. Okay, this is kind of be your kind of starting stitch. Just add a tiny little stitch right there. You're not going to see it because it's black thread. Leave a, 4 or 5 inches hanging out. Then you're going to go up the hat. I think I probably went up about 4 inches or so up to the inside of the hat, and I did this on the seam. Pull it through like this and make a tiny little stitch like a 1/16 of an inch and pull a just like right next to it and pull it back through the hat. Again, you can skip this part. Pull it through. Going nice and slow here. I just thought it would add some character. And then I'm going to take that same needle and we're going to go to the other side of the hat. Boom, just like that. We're going to take it through, just kind of straight across or so. Pull it through again. Add a tiny little stitch. Pull it back through to the center, to the inside. Get your thread all unstuck, of course, just like that. And I'm going to take the thread off the needle, I think. Oh, no, I'm going to make one more stitch. Sorry, forgot. I made 2 stitches on this one side. I did 2 stitches over here. I did 1 stitch on the other. I did 1 stitch to start, went up and did a stitch, and then when I switched to the other side, I did 2 more little stitches. Sorry about that. You can make as many stitches as you want. Now I'm going to take the needle off, and I've got my one thread I left hanging at the beginning and the other thread, and you're going to grab them both in one hand, and you're just going to pull, and see as you pull, it kind of wrinkles it, just like that. Just a simple little touch, but it kind of wrinkles the hat a little bit. Again, you can totally skip this part. Once you get it as wrinkly as you want by pulling on both those threads, just like that. I think it's super cute. You're going to take both those threads and you're just going to tie them into some knots here. And I think I did about 4 or 5 knots. Just tie it in place, just like that. And you're going to have your threads all crisscrossing up through the center of the hat. No worries, nobody's going to see it. But yeah, I like to do 4 or 5 knots just so that it holds really well in there and doesn't come undone. And then you'll cut off those extra threads. And then you're going to stuff it around those threads in there. It's going to be a little tricky, but you can get them in and around the threads. You're going to need a dowel here. I think I cut mine about 8 inches. And what you're going to do is glue it into the hat, and then it's going to go down into the center of that pumpkin where we remove that stem to help hold our hat on. And of course, I'm just using Beacon Fabri-Tac glue here. So I added a little bit more stuffing, and then I'm going to put this dowel in here. Doesn't matter what size dowel, just, and get it about halfway up the hat. And then I'm going to stuff some more down in next to the dowel and down in around those threads in there. And get it as kind of stuffed full as you want. I think this pumpkin turns out so super cute. Get it as stuffed full as you want. Here's it all done. Stuffed, stuffed. And then we're going to add some glue here onto our dowel. Just like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm kind of measuring out how far that stuffing goes. I'm going to go ahead, it goes about 1 inch out, and I'm going to add glue to around that center opening of the pumpkin so that when we push the hat down, we can push the fabric down around it and it will hide all of that batting. Just kind of push it down in there just like that and then smoosh the hat down, and there it is. All ready to go. So super cute already. So Reneabouquets product we're going to be using, this is Gaudy Girl Chunky Glitter Glass in black. These are bundle of bats in the large size. You get these different pieces in the set. I'm going to use a couple of bats. I'm going to use this beautiful board, Beautiful Words, Happy Halloween. All this is Beautiful Board laser cut chipboard. This is a set of 23, no it's not all here, but a set of 23 fall tuck-ins. And these are Beautiful Board, Beautiful Bits. These are moon and stars. And I'll have all the links down below in the description box for you. And then this is some printed Beautiful Board. This is Fabulous Fall Pattern in the large size. And that's our product. So on the bats and some of the moon and stars and the leaves, the bats, I use this fabric covered floral wire. I get it at Hobby Lobby, and it's white, of course. So I just use some distress ink here, some black scrapbooking ink, and I painted it black. You could use regular paint and just paint it black, as you can see by my fingers how fun it is. And I took these bats, again, with some of this ink and this little sponge, and I pounced the ink on. Again, you could just paint these with black acrylic paint, but I pounced it front and back. Now these bats that I'm going to be using has a it comes 2 pieces per bat, so I will do the front and back of that solid bat, and then I would do just the front of this kind of intricate cut bat, because this will of course layer onto that solid piece. And I'm just doing it, like I said, in black here. I've got the other bat already done. Just like that. And now I'm going to do the moon and the stars. Don't you love my fingers? I'm going to stick the moon in a little bit of this orange color here. Again, you could paint it orange. And then I'm going to take the stars. Got 3 stars here, and I'm going to put it in kind of this yellow ink. Again, you can paint it, acrylic paint, perfectly wonderful. Give these beautiful board laser cut chipboards some color. And this one leaf, I want it to match this little leaf from this part of a pick I'm going to use. So I'm just kind of taking the top, and you can do this with paint too, taking the top, pressing it into the yellow a little bit, and then I heat set it, and then I'm kind of taking the center into the orange and just kind of rubbing it, and then heat set it a little bit. And you can do this with the paint, you know, paint a little bit of the orange, and then kind of paint a little bit over with the yellow, and then paint a little bit over, kind of graduating the colors with green. And then I will heat set that a little bit, get it like I want it. And you don't have to do this, but there, now it kind of matches my leaf. And again, you can do this with acrylic paint. Have I said that 5 times? So I missed this part. I tore some fabric here, about a 4-inch wide strip, and I just kind of wrapped it around the brim of the hat. And then I've got another strip of fabric here about 1 inch wide, and I am just kind of gluing the piece that I wrapped around the brim here down, and then the 1 inch wide strip I kind of, you know, tucked under the half knot of that first piece, gluing it in, tying it in a knot, because I wanted some extra tails, basically is all. And I've got some sisal here. It was white to begin with. I had spray painted it black last year for a project, so I have some left over. I've got some wired rope here from Hobby Lobby, I think. I just kind of twirled it, and I'm going to kind of tuck it kind of near the knot on the side. This is all going to be kind of the side of the pumpkin. I've got some pip berries here, really easy on the decor. I've got a couple different pip berries here. I just kind of going to glue one here on in front of that wired rope, and I'm going to add some of this black sisal here. And here's my bat, my first bat already done on the wire. So this is what I did. So we've got kind of the intricate design of the top layer. I'm going to add glue all the way around the edges and then up through the center. Doing this nice and slow so you can see it here. I love these bats because they're just, the designs on them are cute. And then I'm taking just about 1/4 inch of this fabric off of the wire here, so it's not as bulky, just cutting a little piece off, kind of twist it off, cutting it off there. There we go. And then that way the wire is thinner, and I'm going to take that, add a little glue, and I'm going to center it right in between the 2 pieces on the bat. Just like that. Add the top layer, and then I'm just using some little clips here to clip it together for a couple of minutes. Nice and easy, and then our bats are ready to go. All right, so now I've got some other little ribbon here I got from Dollar Tree, I think, tied it into a bow. I pulled on the edges to distress them, and I'm just going to kind of glue it into the center of that checkered ribbon there. And I've got a lot of these pieces, you all know I just take off of picks and things like that. This is just a rusty leaf off of another pick. Probably from Joann's or Hobby Lobby. And here's some more pip berries. I'm going to tuck those in along the side here. Perfect. Adding a little bit in front of our ribbon ensemble here. And then I've got some of these beaded berries. I'm going to tuck those in. Just 3 of them, you know, because things look good in odd numbers. I'm going to just tuck those where I want them. so they're visible. Again, nice and easy decor, because I just really wanted kind of this pumpkin and the hat to really show, because I love the cuteness of the hat. So not a lot of product on here, but I think it makes a cute, spooky, rustic statement. Gonna glue in our last bead here, just like that, and then I'm gonna glue in that little acorn leaf off of a pick, of course. And I usually will tuck things in and around my fabric pieces and my bows, just so you can hide all the ends and the glues and things like that. Here comes that printed beautiful board, laser cut chipboard, the fabulous fall pattern. I just picked a piece out of that, and I'm just gonna tuck it in right behind the bow there so some of it sticks out, and then tucking in our little leaf from the set of 23 fall tuck-ins from Reneabouquets. Add a little bit of color to match that other little pick. Going to add a little bit more of this black sisal in front of the bow. Nice and easy. And then this is the Happy Halloween painted black and a little rusty safety pin. And I'm just going to pin that to this twine that I've tied into a bow. And we're going to glue that to the center of all these other bows. Lots of bows here going on. And then I've got a little piece of fabric here I cut into a square that matches the fabric I used on there and kind of, distressed around the edges. And I've got this little star here from the Moon and Stars set from Reneabouquets, and I'm just using my crocodile here to punch a tiny little hole. Add another little rusty safety pin to add into the center of our little square patch. Just like this. Perfect. We'll go ahead and glue that on. Right in the center of the hat here at the top. I'll be a little off camera here for a minute, but I'll bring it back into view. And then I've got some of these cute little pumpkins that came off a pick. I decided I wanted to add some of these in, so I'm just going to kind of add one to the left and right side of our big fabric bow ensemble. And of course, I've said it many times before, but I'll say it again. When you do projects like this, it's perfect for adding little bits and pieces of different picks and things like that to bring out your personality of your project. And of course, I'm going to advocate for Reneabouquets.com because I simply love Reneabouquets.com. You add in some of that cute product and it just finishes off your project. So here comes the beautiful bits, the little moon and stars. You can see how tiny, tiny they are. Here's where I'm a little bit off camera, but you can see a tiny bit at the top of the screen, but don't worry, I'll bring it right back into view for you. And then I'm going to add a couple more stars, so then by the time I'm done, I've got a moon and 3 stars, because things look good in odd numbers, right? So you want 3 stars. But I thought, there we go, here come in view. Thought they just added the perfect little touch onto the hat. Love how that turns out. Now we're going to bring our bats in here, kind of bringing in the final touch of our Reneabouquets product here. Well, most of it. We got one more product to go. Love the bats on the curly wire. I'm just tucking one on the left and right side, right in between the fabric and the hat itself, so that it will hold up nicely. And then you can, of course, scrunch the wire up or down or whatever you want. I think the bats just add a perfect touch to how it all looks. Look at that. I just love it. Love it. So at the end here, I'm going to add some Reneabouquets Gaudy Girl glitter glass in black. And I have this artist transparent 3D matte gel that I'm going to apply it with. Now you could use like Beacon Fabri-Tac. You could use Mod Podge if it dries transparent. You don't want anything like, you don't want to use a white glue or it's going to show and look tacky. So you want a glue that's going to dry transparent. You could use like a spray adhesive. That could work too. And I just take the paintbrush here and, kind of smoosh it out a little bit, and I dip it into my medium there, tap it on, and then I just pour on the glitter glass wherever I want it to be. And then of course I tap off the excess into the drip pan down below. And of course what lands in the drip pan, I can pour it back into my jar, so it goes a long way. And I'll just go around the project here and there, adding where I want this glimmer and glitz to go onto the hat. Bring it down along the brim as well. And I'll go ahead and come around to the back side just to tie it into the front side. I believe off camera, you'll see it in the final look, I do go ahead and add some more little black sisal along the edge back here just to kind of finish it off a little bit more and tie it into the front as well. But once I get this completed and on, this project is complete. So I hope you enjoyed how this project turned out. I love the cuteness of it, if you can say that about a Halloween project, the rustic, the spooky of it. I just think it turned out exactly in my mind how I envisioned it to be. Of course, I will have all the links down below to every Reneabouquets product that I used in this project if you want to go check some things out for yourself, as well as a coupon code for the month of October for Reneabouquets.com. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know if you liked this project. Please give this video a thumbs up. It helps my channel out a lot. And if you're not a subscriber and you like what you saw here today, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos from me. Before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. It's not about us, what we do, what we know, or what we don't know. It's about Him. Don't think you aren't qualified enough, smart enough, or educated enough to share the love of Jesus. You are more than enough for what God has purposed for you to do. Your story, your life, where you shop, where you dine, work, exercise, play, and your relationship with Jesus has you equipped for all you need. He has you where He wants you for a reason. Embrace that. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.